Hey guys, it's me again. I know I'm like probably spamming you guys with a lot of videos, but I can't help it. I keep getting inspired to ramble on about more stuff. And I recently got super inspired because the picture I am currently drawing for this video is my 5,000 watchers special video. Not 5,000 subscribers, but like on here, like I only have 1,000 something on here, but on DeviantArt I recently reached 5,000 subscribers, and I decided to redraw an old picture of mine, which is like basically this is a redraw of a picture I drew when I was first on DeviantArt, and I drew it when I got 100 watchers, so I thought it would be cool to redraw something from when I only had 100, and I can't believe I have 5,000 people on DeviantArt who love my artwork and who believe in my artistic ability. Like, I can't thank you guys enough for that. I can't, like, I words can't express just how happy that makes me that, like, so many people support me in my art and just in me in general. Like, I really appreciate that. Like, words cannot describe. But I decided that it would be fun, like, to do a video. Sorry, my brother's lizard is like scratching against his tank. He's distracting me. But I decided I wanted to do a video where I tell some stories about when I was in high school, which I graduated a couple years back. And I just wanted to just kind of talk about my high school in general, hopefully give you guys help relate to people who are in high school right now, just kind of like maybe like you guys hearing my stories will help you through high school if you are currently in high school. I know high school's tough. Like, oh good, I didn't like high school, I didn't like the majority of high school. But anyway, so I'm not gonna give the name of my school or the name of my teachers for obvious reasons, even though I have since moved and I don't go to that school anymore, and I don't live near that school anymore. I still don't want to give out the name or the names of the teachers there, but people who know me will know who I'm talking about in this video. But yeah, so basically my high school, where the place I went to high school, it's in a very small kind of country town, in case you couldn't tell by my accent and me saying gosh darn in a couple videos. I am absolutely country, was born in Alabama and raised in Tennessee, but that's besides the point. But basically my high school was in a small country town. Literally right next to the high school was a dairy farm, and our town, didn't have a lot to it besides that high school and a few other things. It was just a relatively calm, peaceful, small town. And I went to the high school. It was actually weird. It was like a middle school and a high school. It was half of the school was like middle school classes and the other half of the school was high school classes. And the school was also 2 stories tall. So, for the most part, it was the left side of the building was where the middle schoolers attended their classes and where the middle schoolers went, and then the right side of the building, and then some areas of the bottom floor were for high school students. And it was a really weird school. But when I started high school, our school had this thing where you could choose a category of study. And the category of study was, they basically would did it to try and prepare us for college. Like, category of study was essentially like us choosing our major in college or whatever, even though it wasn't that at all. It was just, it would basically affect, like, besides general classes like math and stuff, it would affect what classes we would get other than those. And me, my entire life, I have wanted to do art as a career, whether it be drawing cartoons or doing realistic paintings, like portraits and stuff. Like, I wanted to do art as a career. I wanted to do something involving art. And I was excited when this was announced, because in middle school I really wanted to take an art class, because I knew the school had an art teacher and had an art class. And I would ask repeatedly if I could get an art class in middle school, and constantly the people at the school would tell me, that that middle schoolers couldn't attend art classes because those were considered high school classes, I guess. But when I got to high school and I got one of the category of studies was art, I was super excited, because I was like, finally I'll be able to, like, take an actual art class and this will be great. So I chose my category of study as art. Like, we had to meet with guidance counselors and a few teachers in order to choose our category of study. So I chose my category of study as art. And I was super pumped, because like Hype Night was the name of our school's open house, I believe. I don't know if any other school calls them that, but that's what we called it. And Hype Night, we go there, and they would have tables where you had to walk over to the table to grab your schedule. And I grabbed my schedule, like, freshman year of high school. I grabbed my schedule, look at it, no art classes. Like, no art classes. Instead, I was put into an agriculture class. And I kind of showed it to my dad, and my dad was like, well, maybe my dad was like, oh, well, maybe something went wrong with the schedule. He's like, but I'm sure you can survive, like, 1 year of an agriculture class. Like, he said, you'll probably get an art class next year. And I was like, okay. I mean, I wasn't happy, but, like, I was like, well, agriculture has to do with, like, animals and farming and stuff. Maybe I'll learn something cool in there. Yeah, no, that wasn't the case at all. So I get to the agriculture class, and it's in, like we had a workshop class, so, like, the classroom was right next to, like, the garage where we did the workshop, where you did workshop stuff if you took a workshopping class. And the room, I remember, was always burning hot. Like, it was the only room in the entire school that didn't have working air conditioning. And then the teacher, I didn't like the teacher. I didn't like the class, like, cause we didn't learn anything in that class. She basically used all of her agriculture classes as an excuse to promote FFA. I think that's what it's called. Like, the club the agriculture club, essentially. I think it's FFA. I think that's what it's called. But she basically used that entire class to promote FFA. We never actually learned anything about agriculture itself. Like, she literally just used the class to promote agriculture. And I am spitting on my hand. Why am I spitting profusely? But, like, literally the first thing she made us do in class was she made us read out, like, an FFA introduction speech or something, and she made us memorize the crap out of that. And then she told us we had to read it to the class, and if we didn't read it to the class, we would get a failing grade as our first grade. And I thought that was the dumbest thing, like, ever. And then the rest of the class, like, we never actually did any assignments. That was our only assignment, was to read that stupid speech out loud. And then like, the rest of the class was like, we would walk in, and then she'd force us to watch videos talking about how great FFA is, and how you should totally join it, and how it's, like, the best thing since sliced bread, and that, like, if you don't join FFA, you're a dork, or whatever. And, like, and I'm not trying to crap, I'm not crapping on anybody who was a part of FFA in their high school. If you enjoyed FFA, like, I'm not hating on you. I'm just to me, like, I probably would have enjoyed a lot of that stuff. It's just the fact that this teacher was, like, so obsessed with, like, FFA, like, so obsessed with being a teacher of agriculture and being part of FFA. The fact she was so obsessed with that made me mad, because we didn't learn anything that we were supposed to learn. Because I had heard from other students who had taken an agriculture class where she wasn't the teacher, that they actually got to do stuff with animals. They got to go on field trips to, like, farms and stuff, and that they got to learn, like cool things about farming. And then here we were, stuck in a dark classroom that was 100 degrees, and we were forced to watch the dude who wrote the "What Does the Fox Say" song make a speech at an FFA conference. Like, I just did not care. Like even if I did care at first, the fact that she kept shoving it down our throats, and the fact that she just would not shut up about it, like, I just ended up not caring at all. Like, I just did not want to, I just didn't care. I literally could not care less about FFA and what she thought about it. And the only positive side to it was, I think she had, like, a pet hedgehog that she wouldn't let you hold him or touch him or even look at him. And like, I'm already going off on a tangent, but, like, I just didn't like agriculture. Like, that class ruined agriculture for me. It ruined me having any interest in that subject. Like, if you try to talk about agriculture with me, I will probably smack you. Except I probably wouldn't, because I'm a pacifist. But yeah, I got stuck doing that class for, like, a year. And then sophomore year, my sophomore year of high school, I had to take, we go the hype night, I get my schedule. I don't have art class again, despite the fact I was supposed to have an art class. I don't have art class again, and this time I had agricultural machinery, where it was going to be the same teacher, and I asked students about it, and they said that she does the same thing in that class that she does in all of her other agriculture classes, which is just to promote the crap out of FFA. And I was so upset. Like, my dad will tell you, like, that there were visible tears in my eyes. I was so upset because I didn't want to have to sit through another agriculture class. And my dad was like, yeah, no, this isn't happening. And he grabbed my hand and he, like, walked with me to the guidance office. And it turns out that none of the kids, there were a lot of other kids that were in the guidance office whose schedules were wrong, and whose schedules, like, didn't have the classes that they had signed up for. And, like, one kid actually wanted to take agriculture, but he was getting a bunch of art classes. And one other kid wanted to take like a music class, but he couldn't take it because they kept giving him, like, all these math classes that he didn't want to take. And, like, we were all, like, super confused, because we were like, you're like, we chose our category of study so that you would choose the classes that matched our category of study. Why aren't we getting the classes we asked for? And so we sit there, and me and my dad end up talking to somebody, and they said that they would fix it. And then we walk out, and one of my mom's friends who worked at my school came up to us and asked us how we were doing, and my dad noticed that the principal of the school was walking by, which I don't like her either. Like, he goes like, well, it looks like, he's like, well, my daughter's not gonna is gonna go like her 4th year without getting another art class. Because in middle school they told us that we could get art classes, but then whenever people asked, they said you couldn't. So that made me mad. And so my dad so my dad said it loud enough for the principal to hear, and the principal walked over and said, like, is there an issue? And then he was like, yeah, my daughter signed up for the art category of study, and she's about to go another year without having an art class. Like, what is going on? What's the issue? And then she goes, oh, well, how about you just email me and I'll deal with it. And my dad kind of, my dad's not a mean person, but he doesn't tolerate stupidity, and he doesn't tolerate people not doing their jobs. And he basically flat out told her, I emailed you last year about this, and you never got back to me. And then she goes, oh, well, try emailing me again, and then walked away. And my dad wasn't happy about that she just kind of brushed him off. So my dad told me to go with my mom in the car and to wait for him until he came out. And so me and my mom got in the car, and we sat there waiting. I was really bummed because I thought I was going to be stuck taking another stupid agriculture class. And a few minutes later, my dad came out, and he got into the car, and then he goes, Abby, you're getting an art class. I just talked to the principal's boss. And me and my mom were like, you did what now? And he goes, your principal's boss was there, and I told him how ridiculous it was that so many students were getting wrong schedules and that your principal has failed to do anything about it. And he said, you're going to get an art class. And I was like, and I was kind of happy, but also kind of scared, because I was like, well, like, did my dad take things too far? And then that same night, we got a call from the guidance office saying that I was no longer going to be taking agricultural machinery, that I was going to have Art 1, and I was so very happy. I was so ecstatic. I was like super pumped. And the art but then it like got really weird, and like when I was but then it got like really, really weird because then the principal apparently was now terrified of my dad, which makes sense. But instead of going about this by making sure that she kept her nose clean and making sure that she actually did her job for once, she tried to butter me up, I guess. I don't know how else to describe it. She tried to butter me up by essentially, whenever me and my friends would eat together at lunch, she would come over to our table, and then she would sit down and then put her head in her hands, and then look at me and just be like, so how is everyone doing today? And she'd only do it to me. She'd only do it to me and my friends. We watched her. She wouldn't do it to anyone else in the cafeteria. And she would try to talk to us and try to have a conversation with us. And it would be super awkward because she had never done this before. She was always just this really prissy principal. it was just so bizarre, and we were like, are we in the Twilight Zone? Like, why are you talking to us? Like, not in a mean way, but we were just confused, because, like, she had never given a crap enough about, like, she had never given enough of a crap about any student to, like, sit down and try to have a conversation with them. And I think eventually she realized that her trying to be hip and cool with the kids wasn't working. And then one day when I think me and my friends were like the first people in the cafeteria, like no one else had shown up yet. And the principal like walks over to me, like hands on her hips, and she goes, "So, is your dad still mad at me?" And I said, I don't think my dad's mad at you. Like, I just think, like, I told, like, I didn't say anything rude or anything. I was just like, I don't think my dad's mad at you. I just think that he just wanted me to have the classes that he knew I deserved. And then she was like, well, he certainly acts like he hates me. And then she just walked away. And then I just she like never interacted with me again, and I was like, okay, alright. And then later, so my dad ended up becoming close friends with the assistant principal for like the high school portion of the school. And I love her to death. She is like one of my favorite people in high school. I love her so much. Her and my dad got to talking, and she went and checked on the computer because she thought it was weird that I was getting ag classes instead of art classes like I was supposed to have. So she checked the computer, and the school the school was the reason that my schedule was screwed up. Because instead of marking art, they marked agriculture. And we later found out that the reason they did that was because nobody in the guidance office and my principal didn't think that art could be a serious career, and they thought that they were helping me by putting me in agriculture instead of art. And that really made me mad. It made my dad mad. It made my mom mad. It made so many people mad. My friends were even ticked off about this, and it just made me really upset. But then when I took the actual art class, I had a lot of fun in the class. I really enjoyed it, even though like I didn't really learn anything in the class. Like a lot of it was just kind of like do your own project kind of things. But I enjoyed it because I got to do what I wanted to do. But then, thankfully, eventually that principal did get fired, but not until, like, my senior year of high school did she get fired. But, and then there was another time that this principal was just the worst ever. There was a teacher that I got assigned for RTI. And if you don't know what RTI is, it's basically like, study hall, I guess. But our school system decided that study hall wasn't necessary, and that we didn't need time to study or need time to like work on stuff for other classes. And they decided that RTI was perfect for us because RTI was basically teachers forcing us to do assignments that didn't even affect our grades. And in fact, it was so pointless to the point where some teachers just would let us sit there and do whatever and just treat it like study hall. They wouldn't even give out the assignments that the school board gave them. Then they would just kind of say that we did it. And I got assigned my junior year of high school. I struggled with math a lot. math was, like, to me, is like the devil. I do not like math. I've never been good at math. The highest grade I've gotten in a math class is a C. I've never been good at math. And but like I got assigned, like they would assign your teachers based on what subject you were struggling with, even though none of them really ever helped you. And I got assigned a math teacher who I'm going to call Barbie because reasons. Basically, the reason I call her Barbie is because she had blonde hair. She always wore like pink makeup. She always wore different variations of a pink dress. And she even had like a car that had like pink hood ornaments and pink stuff on it. And like she'd have a white car and then there was like pink all over it. But and I was immediately upset when I found out she was going to be my RTI teacher, because I had heard stories from other students that she was just the absolute worst, and she still works at that school. Like, she still works at that high school, and I have no idea how, because she's the absolute worst. And like, so I had her, and there was a point, like, I had an IEP at the time where it said that if I finished my work early, that I was allowed to draw and doodle for a little bit, because I told them that like me doodling kind of calms me down and like keeps me from stressing out, and they allowed me to do that as long as I finished my work, and as long as like I got done early, I was allowed to do it. I wasn't allowed to do it like while I was supposed to take notes. So she gave out the stupid assignment that the school board made her give out, and I finished it, and then I started doodling. And she apparently, and also keep in mind, like, the IEP was given to all my teachers that year, so they knew what I was allowed and wasn't allowed to do. And Barbie didn't care, and she came over to me and slammed her hand down on my desk and kind of had like this evil grin almost. Like, I don't know how else to describe it. It was just like one of those grins that like when you see it, you like want to crap your pants out of fear. And she basically told me to stop drawing in like the most sinister voice I've ever heard a teacher have, and basically got on to me for doodling, even though I was technically allowed to doodle. The school was allowing me to doodle when I finished my work. And so she ended up taking my sketchbook away, and she threw it in the garbage. She threw one of my sketchbooks away. And I sat there with tears in my eyes, and as soon as the class was over, I just remember running out of the hallway and crying my eyes out, because I just didn't understand why she was so hateful towards me about that, despite having an IEP that said that I was allowed to doodle as long as my work was done. And then that wasn't the first time she made me cry. The second time she made me cry, we did group activities in that class sometimes, and I was in a group, except my group members had a club meeting that day that they were all a part of, and like they were all like part of like beta club, I think. So they all had to go to this meeting that day, and we were doing a group project. So I was looking around, I was like waiting a few minutes to see if they would come in late, and they didn't. And then I stood up and started walking around to find another group to participate with. And she saw me walking around, and then she stomped over to me and started kind of yelling at me, saying, like, why aren't you in a group? Like, why are you just wandering around? Why aren't you in a group? And I tried to tell her, like, that my group wasn't there because they were in a club meeting, and she just was, and she was like, she just started fussing at me and kept interrupting me, and said, like, she's like, you're wasting time, you're wasting everyone's time. And then she like grabbed my arm, pulled up a chair, and then made me sit with a group where they didn't even acknowledge me. And they all just kind of finished the work. And once again, when class was over, I ran out of the room crying my eyes out. But this time, I didn't just try to forget about it. This time, I went to the principal's office, and the assistant principal for the high school was there in her office too. So I'm coming in crying, and the assistant principal sees me. She immediately tries to, like, comfort me and tries to calm me down, like, while the principal sits there like an idiot. And I start telling them like what happened, that I felt like this teacher hated me, and I was basically terrified of her, and that I was, like, begging them to change my RTI teacher and to put me in a different classroom. And then the assistant principal looks at the principal, and the principal just goes, oh, well, that's just how she is. I can't do anything, sorry. And the assistant principal, like, and I was, like, devastated because I thought I was going to be stuck with that teacher for the rest of the school year. And then so I end up leaving, and then a few days later the assistant principal calls me into her office, and she told me that she was like, look, look, I know how bad that teacher is. She said, I know how horrible that teacher can be. She said, I don't think that I don't believe you're the kind of kid to make stuff up. She's like, I genuinely believe that this teacher upset you to the point where you started crying. And she said, so I'm going to change your RTI teacher. And I was so happy. And she asked me like who my math teacher was at the time, like for my math class. And I told her his name, and then she ended up just by doing a few computer clicks, like, she ended up moving me to my math teacher's RTI class, and he was able to help me get at least a little bit better at math. And I was just so very happy. And before that, though, like, she wanted me to go and see this teacher to see if this teacher had any ideas for changing my class, and that teacher told me basically the same thing that the principal told me, where it was like, oh, well, that's just how she is, and she's one of the best math teachers we have at this school, so yeah, we can't do anything. But thankfully the assistant principal overruled her, and I was able to have a class with my algebra teacher, and it just made me so very happy. Because I was, like, I don't know, like, that teacher, that assistant principal was like one of the best people at that school. Because she actually gave a crap about her students, unlike that stupid principal. But thankfully, my senior year, the assistant principal ended up becoming our principal, and our school became much better because of that. And, so yeah, that was the thing. I think, okay, another story I want to tell is, so I feel like I should tell some happier stories, but I don't think I have a lot of happy stories with high school. But oh yeah, wait, yeah, I do. I was part of the art club for my school, and one of the things, we had a county art fair that the art clubs at our in our county could participate in. And one of the things that I did was I was really good at digital art at the time. And or not really good at digital art, but like compared to most people in my class, I was fairly good at digital art and my school did not teach digital art. Like, my high school did not teach digital art at all. And so my art teacher at the time, who taught the art club, asked me what I wanted to participate in the category of study, and I told her that I wanted to participate in the digital art portion. Oh, I should also bring up that, like, I did take a digital art class while I was in high school, but I had to go to another high school to participate in it. Because my school didn't teach it, like I said. But my teacher at that other school, who her name was Miss Richards. Like, I have nothing bad to say about her, so I feel fine saying her name. But she was my digital art teacher. I absolutely loved her. And she would oftentimes, she was crazy in a good way. And I remember whenever we would do drills, like, that involved, like, whenever, like, we went into lockdown, I remember she would make a joke saying that, like, that she would, like, defend us with her lives, and she said that she had, like, a golf club hidden under her desk, and that if a school shooter ever tried to break in, or a psychopath ever tried to break in, she said that she would fight him with her golf club and save the school. And she would say, like, she's like, and if I die while protecting you guys, she's like, I want the school to build a statue in honor of me. And we would be like, well, what if they don't build a statue? And then she'd like, then I'm gonna haunt the school until they do. Like, she was like the best teacher. I loved her so much, and she was probably one of my favorite art teachers that I had. But with her lessons, and with basically what I knew from doing digital art up until that point, I felt confident that I could participate in the digital art portion of the county art fair. And I end up going to the art fair, and my two best friends in the whole wide world, Jasmine and Lexi, who also were in that digital art class with Miss Richards, were there to support me, and Jasmine was actually there participating too. And we were in, like, by the way, Lexi and Jasmine, if you're watching this, I love you guys. You're the best. But basically the way the digital art portion worked was that they were going to give us a theme, and we had to draw a picture based around that theme. So the theme that they ended up making the competition was technology. And I kind of sat there for a minute, because I was like, what the heck am I supposed to draw with technology? And then my brain immediately, like, the wheels in my head started turning. And then I was like, ooh, what? Well, technology is such a vague thing, or such a broad topic, that literally, like, I think robots would count as technology. So I decided to draw a robot dance party. And I remember I drew it, and I ended up finishing before most of the other kids who were in that competition did. And like, when time was up, they all went around judging it. and they told us that we had to stay out of the room while they were judging, so everybody was waiting out in the hallway, waiting for them to tell us who the winners were. And then they told us we could come into the room and see our placement in the competition. And I walk over to mine, and they had like sticky notes that had numbers on them, which would represent like first, second, third place. And to my absolute delight, I ended up winning first place in the digital art competition. And I was so happy. I was so proud of myself. Like, and not only did I win first place, but my friend Jasmine, she won third place in the competition, I believe. So so me and my friend ended up like winning a spot in the tournament, and we were so happy. And like me and I just remember my friend, and my friends Jasmine and Lexi, like, were hugging each other. We were bouncing up and down, like, with excitement. Like I had never been so happy about something art related in my entire life. And and then, like, we got to go, like, after like all the judging for all the competitions was over, we got to stand up on a stage, and they gave us medals. That, like, they would show off our artwork that we did. And I just remember standing on that stage and just feeling so proud of myself. I just felt incredibly happy. Like, I had never been so proud. I know I keep repeating myself, but it's like I can't describe just how happy I was in that moment. And and I remember, like, getting off the stage, and I'm starting to, like, walk over to find my parents, and then I look and I see Miss Richards, my digital art teacher, and I remember her, like, I remember walking up to her, and I remember her just pulling me in for a hug, and just hugging me super tightly, and I remember hugging her back, and she oh God, I'm tearing up a little bit, but, like, I remember she was telling me that she was so proud of me, that she always believed that I could do something like this, that she said that she knew that I had artistic talent, and that she was just incredibly proud of me. And I felt like I was so happy, and I felt like I was going to cry tears of joy at that moment, because that was the first time I had heard a teacher tell me that they believed in me. Like, that was the first time I had heard an art teacher tell me that they believed in my artistic ability as an artist. And Miss Richards, I owe, like, a lot to her. Like she, like, I just think, like, if I had never known her, I probably wouldn't have done half the stuff that I do today. And I'm just like, she is just, like, one of those people. Like, she's just one of those teachers where it's like you'll never forget her. Like, she like was like my favorite one of my favorite art teachers I've ever had. And I hope that she's still doing well, and I hope that she's still teaching art at the school that I would drive to get lessons from her. But another teacher that I absolutely loved was I don't know what to call him exactly, but he was like my English teacher my senior year of high school. And I absolutely loved him because one of the first projects we got to do with him was we got to do a create a monster project, where we had to design a monster and then we had to write an original story for that monster. And he told us that the monster could be scary or it could be funny. And so what I did I actually might I wanna dig up this character again and like redesign him. I might redesign him for SSS because I feel like he'd be very fitting. Or maybe I'll do him for a superhero story, I don't know. But his name was Fez, and he was basically a talking lizard that was obsessed with like literature, and he like loved the pursuit of knowledge, basically. And he was like he was like a super funny character, and I wrote jokes that like he didn't like kids who didn't do their homework, and he'd like whip them with his tail if they didn't like do their homework or they were disrespectful to like good teachers. And I remember I ended up getting an A on that project, but I also didn't, and I loved it and I also hated it. I loved the project and I also hated the project because me being me, I watch a lot of YouTubers who read scary stories and who talk about spooky things, like Rob Dyke. I watch him a lot. I love his Seriously Strange series. I also watch Mr. Nightmare and Let's Read and Lazy Masquerade, like all those guys. Love them. Go check them out, please. Unless you get easily scared like me, but even then I watch them anyway, so I guess watch them if you want to watch them. I had watched like Rob Dyke's series. I watched one I think that was talking about scary clowns or clowns that real scary clown stories, I think. I can't remember the name of the video, but I know Rob Dyke did a video about it. And this guy so the point was to write an original story. Like we weren't allowed to rip off other people's stories. Like, and he would look up the stories if he suspected that we made them, if he suspected that we stole someone else's story. And one guy came up and he word for word stole a story, stole a real life story that was based off an actual clown thing. Basically, the story was like this woman got a clown walked up to this person's door, and he had silver balloons and roses, and the clown shot the woman dead. And there was this whole conspiracy about people thought it was the husband, and then other people thought that the husband had an ex-lover that was jealous, and that the ex-lover dressed up like the clown to kill her. But I think they said today it's still unsolved, but the dude literally word for word just kind of copy pasted that story from a news article that talked about it. I knew it because I watch Rob Dyke and I watch all these spooky YouTubers, and I think even my teacher was kind of I could have, even the teacher was I could have sworn I've heard the story before. And then the guy was like, no, I wrote it completely myself. And then he ended up looking up clown murder stories. And at first he didn't find it, and then he asked anyone else if they had heard the story, and I kind of told him that the story sounded familiar to me too. And I think I ended up showing him Rob Dyke's video where he talked about it, and he was like, yeah, this story isn't yours. You didn't, this isn't an original story. You literally copied it word from word. You literally copied the story word for word from another source. And then, I think the guy didn't get an F on it because he drew an original clown monster thing, but the story itself did not match the picture. So he got points for the picture, but he didn't get points for the story. But yeah, But yeah, I think those are like the most interesting high school stories that I have, like, and I feel like this video is going on long enough, but if you guys want to hear more high school stories, or if you have high school stories of your own, please comment below. I'd be really interested in reading them. And I hope you enjoy my artwork. Thank you again for 5,000 watchers on DeviantArt. Never thought I'd get to that point. And just thank you very much. If you have any other topics you'd like to hear me discuss, please suggest them in the comments, or you can go to my DeviantArt and send me a note or comment on my profile telling me what you'd like to hear me ramble and talk about. And I will see you next time. Bye.